Hello everyone, my name is Susanna Smith and this PowerPoint presentation is on the topic of marketing research proposal tools. Now here's a list of the agenda items we'll be going over in this PowerPoint presentation. The first topic will involve trend-inspired skills of market researchers. Then we'll go into talking about emerging approaches to market research. We'll be discussing trend-inspired challenges on the horizon of the marketing industry. We'll be discussing technological challenges facing market research, and then we will conclude with the topic of utilizing the GRIT report during market research. Trend-inspired skills is one of the important fundamentals that is associated with effective research. Some people may think that when you perform market research in any form of analysis, you go in, you collect data, and you make an assumption based on the results. However, that's not always the case. There is a systemology that must be created to help with establishing and correcting value-added data. So first, the researcher must develop a methodology that works for the situation at hand. After the methodology is identified, the researchers will want to go in and identify the appropriate sources as to where they can collect the data from. After that, the data must be analyzed so that an assumption can be developed based on the information that has been collected. Researching is also important when effective segmentation occurs. You want to collect data from the appropriate target group. Using differentiation is also a key component, especially when you're looking at different brands, different competitors, and their form of products that they are selling or utilizing. The customer lifecycle management process must be taken into consideration as well. Researchers must have a strong ability to analyze and observe different types of data and circumstances. The data must also be able to be conveyed correctly to different stakeholders. There's a certain level of curiosity that comes with the researching process. Stakeholders and researchers must have the ability to analyze consumer behavior, especially when you're working on collecting data on products and different commodities. Reviewing purchasing patterns is also important because this will also identify trends in the market industry. After that, the researcher must be able to link consumer attitudinal behavior with behavioral data. All of this information is important when you're performing market research. There are always new emerging approaches that are found when developing market research. And also, different approaches can be taken because not all research is performed the same way depending on the person that is performing the research. Technology is also a critical component that has changed the face of how research has been performed in general. That leads into the topic of social media. Social media has become a very important element of market research. Companies are now consistently making things such as Facebook pages or Instagram accounts in order to be able to collect data from consumers to analyze purchasing behaviors and patterns. It's also a really affordable way for companies to collect data and hear information that's provided by consumers. Microsurveys is a really easy and efficient tool to utilize to help collect data in a hurry. Microsurveys are essentially abbreviated forms of surveys that usually consist of 5 questions or less. The reason for these surveys is time is of the essence. Many times a consumer will look at a survey and disregard it because it often will take too long. There's just not enough time in the day for them to want to go through and collect and input data into a survey that will take them 30 minutes out of their day. Mobile surveys is a really new and innovative way to collect data in a hurry as well. Individuals can acquire surveys through their email, through text messages, etc., and respond quickly without really needing to dedicate a lot of time and set it aside to answer a survey. Social media listening is also really important. Just because you have a Facebook account doesn't mean that the company will effectively listen to what the consumers have to say. There must be people that take the time out of the day to go through each and every one of the responses and really analyze what the consumers are expressing. Biometric responses is also a big deal because it analyzes the emotional aspects behind why individuals make certain purchasing decisions. One question surveys has also been something that has increased efficiently. So, for example, you have a consumer that has a problem with maybe their phone or their cable, and they make a quick call to try to get customer service help. At the end of the phone help, they're asked, would you like to participate in a one question survey? These types of questions are more of the on the spot type of surveys, and it can really provide quick and efficient data in a short period of time. Finally, virtual environment platforms is also something that should be taken into consideration. The face of internet has drastically changed. There are new tools, new different social media mechanisms, different applications that all can be utilized. Blogging, YouTube, etc. Reports can be found online, different SWOT reports can be downloaded, and you can really find and collect a lot of information even about a competitor as to how they're performing research. All of this information can be utilized effectively and help with developing a really efficient and robust market research proposal. Just like any other discipline, there are challenges associated with research trends. Technology is one of the common challenges that are faced by researchers. Technology is always constantly changing. So, for example, someone may have purchased a computer. By tomorrow, that computer may already become obsolete. Globalization trends is also really important for many, many companies who have globalized. So the company that I'm currently conducting research on is Lockheed Martin, and this is a large defense contractor for the United States. Well, Lockheed Martin also conducts business with countries such as Japan. So it's important for the Lockheed Martin to analyze business trends with countries they conduct business relationships with. Sustainability research is also important because of going green initiatives. A lot of companies are now conducting research into different ways they can save on electricity, save on gas, and minimizing different uses of resources that are natural to help with sustainability. There's also been changes caused by things such as automation and artificial intelligence. Robocalls have plagued the country, and it's something that is caused due to automation. There's a certain challenge that occurs when research is analyzed. There must be a differentiation of accurate research versus flawed research. Flawed research is easy to acquire because research is subjective in nature. It can be difficult to really acquire information that is unbiased. It is important to develop certain conditions where research can be performed in an unbiased setting so that the information is gathered and assessed accurately. Companies also need to utilize different online reporting tools. This is a challenge because let's say your cable or your internet goes out. Well, that online reporting tool may no longer be accessible to you for a short period of time. And when that happens, research can stop. It comes to a halt. Also, research that is performed must flow into product development. What this means is that your research can be a process that takes a long, long time. And product development sometimes must be cranked out in a hurry. There are companies that want products out now, because they want to be able to sell items out as quickly as possible. So there comes a point where the research flow must match that of the desire to meet the product development milestone timeline. As mentioned previously, technology is one of the biggest challenges that impacts market researchers. There are several reasons why this is the correct case. So, for one thing, many times research alone actually requires human engagement. There must be a certain level of interaction. Sometimes good quality data is actually collected through things such as interviews and actual observations by the researcher. Well, technology can also decrease engagement. That could result in losing valuable information. Even though technology can actually save on costs, well, initially it can also increase costs because you have to fund the new technology. Not many companies may already have these systems in place to be able to utilize technology. So what does that mean? Well, the companies have to go out and purchase the new technology to be utilized within the company. And that means that certain money has to be allocated to be able to get that new technology utilized within the company. Communication can decrease due to automation. When automation really removes the human element of interactions, and that minimizes being able to capture really organic information. Reliance on self-reporting data. So a lot of times when you're utilizing automated surveys and so on and so forth, the consumer is reading a question and they're answering it based on their assumption. If the question is written very poorly, they may not be able to really fully grasp what the question is what it's trying to convey. That's why there is difficulty relying on self-reporting data, because a lot of times it can be flawed because there's no ability to explain or provide clarification. So right off the bat, that's a technological barrier that impacts researchers. Also, it can be difficult acquiring really individual level data. Sometimes you have mass emails and mass surveys out, and you send them out and you don't know who's actually answering them. You don't know if it's the appropriate target audience who's actually researching and analyzing their survey and responding to it. It's just going out to whomever and whenever. And that type of data may not actually be as accurate as it could be. So also, replacing obsolete equipment can be very expensive. So let's say a company invests in new technology, new computer surveys, new cloud systems, so on and so forth. Well, over time, eventually that equipment will need to be updated, or it may need to be replaced in its entirety. It becomes expensive for a customer, especially if it's a small business, for them to continue to invest in equipment. Also, databases containing data can be impacted. There are situations where companies have lost tons of information because a whole server got wiped out, or a hard drive was accidentally erased and copied over, and so on and so forth. These are all technological challenges and risks companies can face when performing market research, utilizing these types of tools. That's why it's important to really not get too comfortable using one technique. There should be an even distribution of using different mechanisms of market research so that there can be some variety in the data that you're collecting. So students who review the GRIT report will be able to gather and acquire very important information that can help with the market research proposal process. So upon my review of the GRIT report, what I noticed is that it contained important information on innovative research that has been performed by various companies. Now, the company that I'm currently performing research on for my proposal is Lockheed Martin. They are well known for developing innovative products for the F-35 warfighter jet for the country. They're constantly entering into contracts with different federal agencies to develop different innovative ways to make improvements to different defense equipment. So this type of information is very helpful for me in particular because of the type of proposal that I'm working on and developing. I need to look at and analyze information that's based on innovation in general. Also, the information that is supplied within the GRIT report approaches the elements such as automation and technology. Now, Lockheed Martin is a large business. They have many different manufacturing facilities, and automation is a common denominator as to how they produce products. They also have sub-tier suppliers that manufacture certain types of products until it actually is developed into a component and is shipped over to the end user or customer. This type of information is really important because it identifies different ways new automation techniques are developed to help streamline processes. Automation can be a beneficial component because there are simple tasks that are repetitive over and over and over, such as manufacturing. And companies such as Lockheed Martin have large purchase orders they need to fulfill. So hearing about automation and the different ways that this type of process can be improved can really help the company. The GRIT report also contains information on how technology drives company patterns of behavior. Well, Lockheed Martin is a company that has really become well known for one product, the F-35 jet. There is a lot of room for growth and opportunities for the company to expand the product portfolio. So let's say they begin developing items such as prosthetics for maybe the Department of Veterans Affairs, or maybe different lasers for submarines, so on and so forth. The company has a lot of ability to look at different research that is performed regarding technology and adapting it into the proposal to utilize it and develop something that could be presented to executive leaders to make a decision as to whether or not a project group should be formulated. The GRIT report will also help decision makers actually make decisions that is based on evidence and trends. The report is really comprehensive in nature. There is a lot of information contained that can be utilized to help write a really robust proposal. What individuals should do is take the time and really review different areas and gather the data from the different areas of the report that is applicable to what they're researching. Lastly, the information contained in the report helps leaders understand consumer behavior. So for Lockheed Martin, the consumer is actually the United States government, and the company is awarded a lot of different federal contracts for mostly equipment that is for the F-35 fighter jet. Now, the Lockheed Martin's major competitors include BAE Systems, Raytheon, General Dynamics, and other companies that actually develop things such as common missile warning systems, the Patriot missile, the Bradley, and so on and so forth. Lockheed Martin has the capacity to break into this niche market as well and start manufacturing very similar products that are comparable to their competitors' products. So the information within the GRIT report can help leaders understand consumer purchasing patterns of behavior and develop strategies to help become competitive in comparison to competitors. Thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to review my PowerPoint presentation, and have a great one.